Totally, yeah.
I need to be seen. I need to be top of mind. Shedeur Sanders is. And by the way, Mike, I like your wording of the question. If this was the other way around and Dillon was there every day and Shedeur wasn't, Shedeur would be getting killed for this.
We got to keep
killed for this. So you've got to keep it 100. And here's what I'll say on that. Number one, first and foremost, kudos to Shedeur Sanders. I said Monday he's in the driver's seat to win this job. I firmly believe that he is. I'm not predicting he's going to. I'm saying if you're the Monken's coaching staff and you're going to put out a practice schedule and who gets the reps and ultimately a depth chart, which is what the media salivates over, right now the depth chart is Shedeur Sanders 1, Deshaun Watson 2, and Dillon Gabriel 3. And these guys are doing exactly that when it comes to putting that order together. And so kudos to Shedeur Sanders putting in the work. How do you get better? You spend the offseason in the lab.
Right now, there's a name quietly building momentum inside the NFL conversation. Not through headlines, not through controversy, but through steady, consistent progress. Shedeur Sanders. Coming into this phase of his career, expectations were already high, not just because of his talent, but because of the spotlight that has followed him from the very beginning. Every move he makes is watched. Every throw is analyzed. Every performance is judged instantly. And yet, despite all of that, he's still right in the middle of one of the most competitive situations in football. Inside the Cleveland Browns organization, the quarterback room is anything but settled. There's experience, there's pressure, and there's urgency to win now, which means nobody is being handed anything. Shedeur Sanders is currently competing for his role in a system that demands precision, speed, and decision-making at the highest level. And according to recent updates coming from inside the team environment, he's improving. Not in a flashy headline-grabbing way, but in the way coaches actually care about. His timing is getting sharper. His understanding of defensive coverages is getting better. And most importantly, his confidence is starting to stabilize. Because early on, like most young quarterbacks, the speed of the NFL can feel overwhelming. Defenses move faster, windows close quicker, mistakes get punished immediately. But the difference now is that Shedeur Sanders is starting to adjust to that speed. And when a quarterback begins to slow the game down mentally, everything changes. Decisions become cleaner, movements become more controlled, and the entire offense starts to feel more organized. Because in that same room, you still have players like Deshaun Watson bringing experience and presence. You have Dillon Gabriel pushing competition and adding pressure. And you have a coaching staff that is focused on one thing only, winning, which means every practice matters, every rep counts, and every mistake is remembered. But here's what's starting to stand out. Shedeur Sanders is not fading under that pressure. He's staying engaged, he's staying active, and he's continuing to push forward even when the spotlight is at its brightest. That's something coaches pay close attention to, because talent can get you noticed, but consistency is what earns trust. And trust is the hardest thing for a young quarterback to build. There are still moments where things don't go perfectly. Missed reads, slight timing issues, adjustments that come a second too late. That part is still there, but what's changing is how quickly he responds after those moments. Instead of hesitation, there's recovery. Instead of doubt, there's another attempt. And instead of shrinking under pressure, he keeps stepping into it. And that's where the real development begins. Inside the organization, conversations are starting to shift slightly. Not dramatically, not officially, but enough to be noticed. Because now the question is not just, is he talented? That question has already been answered. The new question is, how fast can he become reliable? And in the NFL, that question determines everything. Because if Shedeur Sanders continues improving at this pace, if the confidence keeps building, if the decision-making keeps getting sharper, then this situation in Cleveland could become a lot more interesting than people expected. But for now, he's still in the middle of the process, still earning every opportunity, still fighting for every rep, and still proving, piece by piece, that he belongs in this conversation. At this stage, everything starts to change. Not on the surface, but underneath. Because when a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders begins to show real progress, the expectations don't stay the same, they rise. Inside the Cleveland Browns facility, the evaluation process is getting sharper. This is no longer about potential. It's about dependability. Coaches are no longer just asking if he can make the throws. They're asking if he can make them consistently, under pressure, in critical moments, without hesitation. And that's where the real test begins. Because the NFL doesn't wait for development. It demands results. Fast. Every practice rep now carries more weight than before. Every mistake feels bigger. Every success gets noticed immediately. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is right in the middle of that shift. Reports suggest that his command of the offense is slowly improving. He's starting to communicate more at the line, adjusting plays, recognizing defensive looks earlier, and reacting quicker than he did before. That may not show up in highlights, but inside a quarterback room, that's everything. Because reading defenses is what separates athletes from quarterbacks. Still, the competition hasn't slowed down. If anything, it's getting more intense. Deshaun Watson continues to bring veteran control and experience. He understands the system. He understands pressure. And he knows what it takes to hold a starting role. At the same time, Dillon Gabriel keeps pushing the pace, adding urgency, forcing every quarterback in the room to stay sharp. Which means Shedeur Sanders is operating in one of the hardest environments possible. A situation where improvement is required, but patience is limited. And that creates a different kind of pressure. Because now, it's not just about getting better. It's about getting better fast enough. There are still moments where things don't connect perfectly. Timing with receivers isn't always clean. Reads can still be a split second late, and defensive disguises can still create hesitation. But what's starting to change is how those moments affect him. Earlier, a mistake could slow the rhythm. Now, it doesn't stay as long. He resets quicker, moves on faster, and keeps pushing the next play. And that mental recovery is one of the most important traits a quarterback can develop. Because in the NFL, you're not judged by perfection. You're judged by response. Inside the organization, there's still no final decision. No clear starter has been officially locked in. Everything is still open. Everything is still moving. But one thing is becoming harder to ignore. Shedeur Sanders is not just in the room anymore. He's part of the conversation. And that changes everything. Because once a quarterback enters that conversation, every rep becomes more important. Every opportunity becomes more valuable. And every performance starts carrying real weight. Now the question isn't just, can he develop? It becomes, can he take advantage of the moment when it comes? Opportunities don't come twice. And somewhere inside this competition, that moment is coming. At this point, everything feels like it's reaching a breaking point. The competition, the pressure, the expectations, and right in the middle of it all is Shedeur Sanders, still fighting for every inch inside the NFL. Inside the Cleveland Browns organization, the quarterback situation is no longer just a storyline. It's becoming a decision that could shape the future of the team. And every practice is now a test that carries real consequences. Coaches are watching everything closely. Not just completions, but command. Not just throws, but control. Not just talent, but leadership under pressure. And this is where Shedeur Sanders is being pushed harder than ever before. Because at this level, improvement is not enough anymore. You have to prove reliability. Every single day. There are moments where he shows real flashes. Quick reads, clean timing, better awareness of defensive movement. Moments that make people inside the building pause and take notice. But there are also moments where the NFL reality hits. Fast defenses, complex disguises, split-second decisions that don't always go perfectly. And that balance is exactly what defines young quarterbacks. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson continues to bring veteran stability and experience to the room. He understands the system, he understands pressure, and he knows how to manage expectations at the highest level. At the same time, Dillon Gabriel keeps pushing competition every day, forcing everyone in the quarterback room to stay sharp. Nothing is comfortable. Nothing is guaranteed. Everything must be earned. And that's what makes this situation so intense. Because Shedeur Sanders is not just developing anymore. He's competing for trust in the NFL. It has to be built, rep by rep, decision by decision, moment by moment. Inside the organization, there is still no final answer, no official starter, no locked decision, just constant evaluation. But something subtle is starting to happen, a shift that doesn't always show up in headlines. Shedeur Sanders is starting to look more comfortable in chaos. When the pocket breaks down, he doesn't panic as quickly. When reads aren't open, he resets faster. When mistakes happen, he moves on immediately. And that mental shift is what coaches pay attention to the most. Because the NFL doesn't reward perfect players, it rewards stable ones. And now the question inside the building is changing. It's no longer just, is he ready? It's becoming, how close is he, really? Because if this progression continues, if the confidence keeps building, if the decision-making keeps sharpening, then this quarterback battle is far from over. And maybe, just maybe, it's only getting started.